me all right?
We can.
Yep.
Okay, good. Just making sure the mic input was all right.
Well, greetings, gentle viewers, as we have come back around to the Vlogcast zone, a zone where we talk about various things, entertainment related. Some of it may be not so entertaining, but we try. So of course we've got a decent.
Well, you guys are in for a treat today. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah.
So when Dave returns,
Dave.
we'll have Dave. We've got Mo and Dane here with us, as well as my co-host Jake. So today we kind of come back around to Criterion. I was not so well on last week to do it. It was like all I could do to get through the 2 videos we recorded normally. Now I'm feeling better, and now we can start getting into the meat of the sale, talking about things that we've kind of looked at that we would really wish we could grab, things we did grab, things we didn't expect to grab, things that you kind of like, movies and releases that kind of give you those unsavory thoughts.
Like, you mean you want to kill someone for it? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe.
That's kind of unsavory. Well, I got you one better, at least one better.
I'll
Maybe
do some unsavory shit for that Zatoichi set. If any of you guys out there are willing to part with one, I'm sure I could set up an OnlyFans or something. We'll work something out. I'll do it. Okay, I just don't have the cash at the moment.
You'll show off your Prince Albert for us.
It was available only for a moment on that sale.
It was.
And it was $99. And if anybody knows that Zatoichi set, it is gorgeous. And it has all of the Zatoichi films except for one, which is Darkness is His Ally. And it's just spectacular. I'm actually, if I can get some money together for one more Rightstuf order, that one's on sale for $15. The last movie. And
that's that old man Ichi one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And but that was his last Zatoichi film that he did. And I was really impressed. Now, one I did get, which people have been having trouble with, is this one here, this Bruce Lee set, which is how I know this is probably on other people's.
I knew most of it.
So a lot of people have an interest in it.
It's on mine. It is.
It's going to be I know it's at least on everybody's list to get if they haven't gotten it already. It's just
Dave did some sketchy shit and like bought some random Chinese one or something.
That's actually an official release of the series. I'll bring that one out to show it because it'll probably be clear.
Oh, is it?
But actually, have you opened up yours yet, Dane? Yeah, you did because you showed it on there.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like on my channel, I already did a show and tell for all the ones I got during the sale, and I would gladly point people towards that on my channel, Indie Horror Film Creative, with the show Blu-ray Views. But I don't want to disappoint anybody watching this, but I also want to provide something extra. So just for all of you guys, I got every Criterion that I have off the shelf, and they're sitting right next to me.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going
to
every one of them. Well, ones that I see, I had to look through my shelf multiple times because it's actually harder than you think. If you just do everything in alphabetical order like I do, and you don't separate, your Criterions, your Scream Factories, all that, then sometimes some of them can hide. And so I had to look through multiple times just to make sure I didn't miss anything. But I'm pretty sure I snatched every one of them up.
Nice,
very nice.
But yeah, I have them all. I have them all next to me, and that way I can do a little show and tell there.
Well, quit playing coy and whip out that Bruce, baby.
No,
Come on.
I do have the ability to move the camera around. I'll show you as an example. So just to show the one Dave was showing was this.
Yeah.
Now this is actually a legit release. It was in like Walmarts and so on. I actually had it for
that
like
looks pretty sick, seeing it.
I got it for $10.
That's the one that James Rolfe showed off all the way back in like 2007 or something, and he was pissed that the set didn't have Enter the Dragon because that was a Warner Brothers film, and I guess that they didn't want to, because aren't all of those like 20th Century Fox or something that are listed?
Right there. I've got that Enter the Dragon.
Fortune Star.
I mean, what kind of jabroni doesn't have Enter the Dragon? You know?
Yeah.
What are you doing with your life if you don't have Enter the Dragon already?
I
get it. It should be in the set.
I didn't for quite a long time, but then I'm glad that I didn't though, because I got it in the Bruce Lee set there, so I got it all taken care of.
There you go.
Now of course, Criterion
seems
really,
like a good way to see it for the first time too.
Of course, Criterion really outdid themselves on that particular day, because not only did they release this, which, as we were talking, this is not an easy one to get. It's sold out so fast.
Well, I got it on Amazon actually, because I couldn't get it on Barnes & Noble.
They managed to restock quickly, but Criterion's own website, it was sold out. And I went to the local Barnes & Noble. They said the nearest one's in Williamsburg. I don't know if that's the copy I got or not, but it only took a couple days. I was impressed.
It's like an hour and a half to 2 hour drive for us, depending on how fast you drive.
But it was not just, but by contrast, the other film that came out the same day, my Barnes & Noble had 2 copies. And of course, I found them. The guy working there couldn't find them. I found them. And that was the Preston Sturges classic, The Lady Eve.
Oh, let me give you.
I'm very happy to get that. That's a good film there. Henry Fonda, Stanwyck.
Did you just throw up?
I couldn't do it. I don't know. But it's
you ate too much word salad and then you barfed it back out.
And of course, let's see.
Yeah, Brandon's just hovering right on him too. I love it.
Our faithful viewers will recognize, and I need to put my headset back in. Our faithful viewers will recognize this film that we recovered earlier this year from the same director.
I've got to see that again. It's
great one.
It was so good. And I also ended up picking up another one. I've got a nice little Criterion Sturges collection going on here.
I see that.
Yeah, it's good times.
So for me, the problem for me always is what to leave off the list for like that particular purchasing cycle. I mean, it's always tough, you know. That's why, like, and in my little stack here, I have just movies that actually are Criterion films. Now I have like Sallow and Doctor Strangelove, and I have some ones that are in the Criterion collection, but the Elephant Man, but like the editions of them are not Criterion editions, even though the movies themselves are in the collection. So I did not put those in there. Yeah, the Sallow one that I have, it's the BFI edition. That's 3 discs, while the Criterion's only 1. Elephant Man's 4K, Doctor Strangelove's 4K.
Oh yeah, but, it's always tricky. You're talking about what to leave off and whatever. Like, when do you know, my thing is, when can I justify the $20 ticket price, even at half off, well, $18 with the card, for the stuff that I already own? Now, some of them are very tricky. Like my edition of The Silence of the Lambs has special features that are not on the Criterion edition. Do I want to get the Criterion and keep mine? Do I want to just leave it as is? I want The Silence of the Lambs on principle. Oh, yeah. Some of them are clear upgrades, like 12 Angry Men, Being John Malkovich, Ghost World. It's just, I already own the movie, but they're clear upgrades, and I may yet get Being John Malkovich this go around because I want
Carnival
to.
Soul.
But, yeah.
Old dollar store copy.
There you go.
Well, that's All right, I just realized I forgot one. Hang on one second.
And one thing
definitely I was looking at. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say definitely I was like focusing more on that like stuff I already kind of own, but you know that 50% off makes it intriguing to maybe get it just for that Criterion aesthetic and maybe the little physical insert or whatever, you know. So I guess playing devil's advocate a bit. I mean, I guess it's just if you want that little bit extra, even if you have another copy that has more special features, it probably doesn't have that like inserted essay that a lot of the Criterions have and shit, or the artwork, you know.
Like, no, is this the edition you have of this, or do you have some?
That's the same one that I got. Yeah.
Okay.
Did you get it on DVD or Blu-ray?
I got the DVD one.
Is that yours of this the DVD or is it?
It is. Yeah, it's just the DVD.
I came close.
Quality
honestly,
is close.
I'm not a huge Blu-ray guy unless it's like animation. That's the only thing that I like really prefer to get on Blu-ray. So
pop better, that's for sure. But
yeah, it's nice and crispy.
The Bond set.
Go ahead.
I trust Criterion to really go well with their refurbishing. Like a lot of times when you get just a random movie gets put on Blu-ray, that does make me nervous. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
because I have a couple where I feel like I got burned. Like I have a Blu-ray of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. It looks terrible on Blu-ray. I don't know if they even tried.
Well, I'm pretty sure that Godzilla 1984 is just the same one that I have on DVD burned onto a Bluray disc. Right. So if there's any difference, it's negligible. I was looking at screenshots when I was doing the review, and it's like, okay.
Well, some of those old Warner Brothers, like the very first Blu-ray releases they did, were pretty piss poor, especially in the audio department. So I mean, I could believe it if they didn't really try all that hard. Now they did get a lot better as they went along, but still, you're like, why? You know, why bother if you're just going to do that piss poor of a job of it?
And I feel like lately, I've very rarely seen a Blu-ray that I felt diminished the quality of recent releases. I think it was more probably in the earlier days of Blu-ray that they were just kind of slapping it on a new disc and calling it a day.
Oh yeah.
But again,
that early one of like Highlander, it looked. Yeah. My DVD version of Highlander looks superior visually and sound quality wise to the Blu-ray version that I got rid of. It was so grainy.
Yeah.
It was just because if you do it wrong, if you don't.
I've bought a few DVD releases of Highlander, and I'll tell you right now, still the best way to watch it is VHS, CRTV, and a case of beer. That's...
Well, the early Blu-rays that look stunning for good reason were anything that Sony put out because, well, they own the format, and so of course they're going to look good. So yeah, I mean, pretty much all the Sony movies from day one, they look probably the best overall in their overall quality, and they also tend to, if you play them on a 4K player, they tend to upscale the best. You know, if it's because a lot of them, they were the ones that mastered in 4K before anybody else was. And, you know, so even like, you know, something like Captain Phillips or This Is the End, some of those like 2013 releases, they were mastered in 4K and they said that on the back. And so then when you, you know, play them back, even though it's technically 1080p, but even if you're playing it on a 4K player, it'll look pretty good. And a lot of the later ones of these releases that I have in front of me, a lot of the later ones they'll be like a 2K scan or a 4K scan, and you know they'll play it back pretty well.
I want to do a comparison, and with I know two of y'all have this at least. I don't know if the rest of y'all do, but I know that Jake does and Dane does. I know Dane does because I watch his channel.
You better watch my channel.
The circus with Charlie Chaplin. That's been one of my biggest.
The circus?
Yeah, that's one that I have debated so much on whether to upgrade my copy, because this is my copy. Let me get a closer look for that. No, that's it. This is my copy, and you can see. Look at the number of special features on.
That's not bad.
And then on top of that, now it's a DVD. Yeah, I could upgrade it for Blu-ray, but I'm not really throwing it. Like you can see, it's a very nicely made set.
Yeah.
And I wanted to compare with y'all to see what y'all see, because y'all actually have it so you can look at the special features. And you could tell me if that has all of these and above.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously the transfer is going to be better with Criterion. I'm not even going to worry about that.
Right.
And interactive menus is a bit, I think it's a bit early. It's an interactive menu.
Don't you love it? Don't you love it when DVDs and Blu-rays, when they highlight interactive menus and scene selection and stuff as special features? I'm like,
dude,
fuck you.
I've been running through Oz lately too, and I'll tell you what I do not miss is forced animated friggin' menus and crap. My God, dude. I don't need to zoom into the prison tray every time I'm trying to start a disc. Like, for fuck's sake.
Well, they put a lot. Well, in James Rolfe's video, they put a lot more work into the DVD menus.
Yeah. It was cool back then. Now it's friggin' annoying. Just give me the little spinning wheel thing, or like how they have those tabs on a lot of Blu-rays where you just press over and start the shit.
As far as like sleek, Blu-ray tends to do better when it comes to sleekness of their like menus. Though I do miss like some of the intricate ones. Like I love the little Groundhog Day one where it shows the map of the city and cars and stuff going around. I thought that was really cool. But let me read these and see if this compares to y'all's copies.
All right.
Let's see here. Introduction by David Robinson. Chaplin Today, The Circus, a documentary. Deleted sequence, Chaplin, the bareback rider, and tightrope walker go on an accident-filled dinner date. October 7th through the 13th, 1926, outtakes from a week of shooting. Mountbatten home movies, 3 home movies from the archives of Lord Louis Mountbatten. Chaplin on the set of The Circus. Chaplin visits Douglas Fairbanks on the set of Gaucho, The Sacrifice, an improvised comedy short on a beach with Chaplin as king of a South Sea island, which is kind of cool. It's actually a pretty cool one because he improvises like on the spot there. Like, ooh, look, a camera.
Are you following this at all, Jake? Because like the way that the ordering is not at all the same.
A few of the things he's mentioned I've seen, but a lot of this I'm not seeing.
Let's see.
I mean, it could very well be on here, but they're just not labeling it as such.
Right.
But there's a photo gallery, film posters, trailers.
Right here, I'll take a picture of it and I'll send it to you. That way you can hopefully decipher that, because I was having a hard time.
So
yeah,
you probably don't have the Criterion essay.
No, I don't have the essay.
Hey, it's a perk,
I will admit, one thing that held me up for the longest time on getting Chaplin was that Chaplin collection. And then just like there's the Preston Sturges filmmaker collection, and there's Viva Pedro, I believe is what it was called, the Almodovar collection. Those 3 collections held me off for a while on those filmmakers because I didn't want to get the Criterions and then end up getting those collections. But the collections were so pricey, I didn't want to do it. And I'm like, oh, but I really want the Criterion editions.
And that's the other thing is I have like Criterion for every single Chaplin movie that I own except for that one. So
they're getting they probably still have a couple left that they haven't done.
At this point, Brandon, you may as well get it for the essay and the cover art.
I mean, it's just kind of an odd thing. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff in both of these, but it's hard to say 100%. Like there's some of these that are on this set that are not on that set, but there's some things on that set that are not on this set. It's kind of one of the cases. I mean, I know, Dave, you're like a proponent more of the DVD than the Blu-ray. So, do you have? How do you have Chaplin? Do you have any of the four? I mean, any of the Criterion releases on Chaplin? Dave?
I have all the Chaplin Criterions.
No.
You there? You with us, Dave?
I have the Great Dictator. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I keep having problems where
Like an online outage or something.
It's too bad.
Well, The Great Dictator was a worthwhile release, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
You know what? I don't own a single Chaplin movie.
You gotta.
I need to change that. That's
like
for sure.
said,
I've seen several. I feel like
since I started doing the half-off sales, I've made it a rule to get a Chaplin film each time. And then when I run out of Chaplin films, I'll probably go to Harold Lloyd, and then I'll go to Buster Keaton.
Well, okay, correct me if I'm wrong too. I was reading a lot of the time these Criterion sales are twice a year or just once.
Yeah, twice a
In
year.
November and July.
See, okay, so even if you're not big into like spending the fucking premium price on them when they're not on sale, these types of sales will get you to look at stuff that maybe it would just be cool to have a different release of that. Like Great Escape was one that jumped out to me, or Hedwig and the Angry Itch. You know, those were a couple that I was thinking pretty seriously about for a minute. I think they had a Naked Lunch on sale. You know,
oh shoot, even films you don't even know about, but you're like, this cover looks interesting. Like this one here, Meantime, I've heard of very briefly, but I just love that cover. The guy's sitting on the couch,
right?
Like, you know,
he's someone that we can all relate to, right?
By the way, this has not been shown in the pickup, so if you watch the vlogcast, you're gonna see stuff that you will see later.
Exclusive grip right there.
That he likes.
Good ones. Good ones.
I do wonder, has anybody actually taken a look at a DVD version of the same Criterion release versus the Blu-ray and seen if there is all that much of a difference
in terms of special features?
There really
as far as
there really isn't that much.
Oh, visual. Well, I was gonna
that much different.
Yeah, I was gonna say that earlier when you were talking about it. Like, you know, Hidden Fortress looks crispy, but it doesn't look all together like crazy. That's the one Kurosawa flick that I needed to see it so bad. Like, I would have preferred to have the DVD version, but it was sold out, and it was like that. And Seven Samurai and Rashomon are like my favorites, so I needed to see them immediately, and I just bought it just to watch it, basically. It looks good. I mean, you know, but so do the other ones that I got. You know, or Seven Samurai is another one that I had to get on Blu-ray as well. And that dude, I've seen DVD copies of that look fairly similar to it that aren't even Criterion, you know. So
as far as the Criterion restoration itself, I can't say that there are any that I have seen both versions. I can say I watched the Criterion edition of The Princess Bride, having the regular DVD edition fairly fresh in my mind, and it was a significant upgrade.
Oh, yeah, that's a difference. Yeah,
and the richness and whatever.
Oh, yeah, well,
that's a difference altogether. They clean those things up.
Oh, yeah.
They do a good job. I mean,
let's be honest, those just MGM releases without any help from Shout Factory or from Criterion, like just the regular MGM transfers tend to be pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie.
With what I was touching on with the Kurosawa flicks is like, honestly, Rashomon looks better than my Seven Samurai does even, and that's on Blu-ray, you know. So I think it also largely depends on what they have to work with. I mean, certain stuff can only be cleaned up so much, you know. So
the source print is really what matters as far as what's gonna look good and what's not.
Right.
Because when you got something shitty to work with, then you're lucky that you get anything. I mean, a lot of those ones that I get from like Code Red or from some from Vinegar Syndrome, some from Severn. It just really depends like on what the quality of the actual source print is. Cause like the one was it Jungle Holocaust that I watched? Like, yeah, I think that was the one that they even set in like a little title card in the beginning, essentially that they did their best.
Yeah, this is what we had to work with. You know,
exactly.
It's intact is the point of this cut. Like,
yeah,
not
I mean,
that it's super clean.
There are some, there are some audio hiccups and things that
a little bit.
It's stuff that you're just like, well, okay, they tried, but it's like,
hey, I'll tell you though,
really
still
obscure...
a pleasure to see it complete and then get it immediately fucking removed from your YouTube channels. Take it from me, it's worth it, every penny.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. I guess you just got to do. You got to do what you got to do, I guess. And again, the more obscure that you get, the harder it is to find a halfway decent print of something.
Lots of times absurd, like I mentioned earlier, that Severin release is a good example. Like, there's not a ton you're going to be able to do with that. You know, I'm pretty sure that print was damaged the moment it left their hands. They were being pretty irresponsible when they were making that shit.
Cannibal Holocaust and Cannibal Ferox, like, they were halfway decent as far as their transfers. You know, it just, again, it was just, I think because those ones are a little bit more well known compared to like Jungle Holocaust. Do you all want to see what I've got next to me? And that way you can
grab it up, dude. Why not?
Good times.
I will say this though before he starts. Like, I think Lone Wolf and Cub and Lady Snowblood are good examples of movies that their main print or whatever has always just been pristine because they look good on like every release I've seen them on, and that Criterion one of both of those is crispy.
Criterion, Disney and their restoration work,
and that may be one of the reasons why Disney's so good at their restorations is they're notoriously tight-fisted with their properties. So it could be that their prints are simply in good shape to begin with.
It's just been sitting in some sealed case since they made the
The Disney vault exists, boys and girls.
Yes,
but
actually, that's where there's a difference. I mean, I've seen the VHS versus DVD plus Blu-ray edition of The Little Mermaid as a good example, and you can see step by step the visual and the music quality get better and better.
Nice.
And that's just an amazing thing to see. But that shows you a good restoration artist.
James Bond is a good example. That Bond collection is a great example of that too. Like, I've seen those on VHS.
Bond.
on the question of does Criterion upgrade, there is one thing. Now, that's one I want to see on Blu-ray to know, because the version I saw on DVD was so fuzzy. It was so hard.
Is that Barry Lyndon?
Yeah, Barry. Well, I'm starting here, and these are all in alphabetical order, but we got Barry Lyndon. Oh, it's one of my favorite Kubrick films by far. And this is the original poster, too, which I love the original artwork on... like the new artwork on the Criterions, but when the poster art is already so good, it's like, I'm glad that they just transported it there.
Yeah. That Cannibal Gods is a good example of that all day.
Being John Malkovich, which is one of my favorite artwork designs and a great film.
That's one I would bring on.
Great film.
Being There, the Peter Sellers comedy drama, which I remembered when I saw this. I don't know if anybody reacted this way, but I remembered, like, there are very few films that ever made me cry, but like more so at the beginning of this, I remember being like, you know, I could relate to the idea of somebody that, you know, is largely just alone and kind of kept away from people, and his world is mostly informed by what he sees on TV, and yet, you know, he's a wise man and a sage, you know. So
Cable Guy.
I could relate to that.
That's
kind of like
that's what they did with Cable Guy.
Kind of like if Chance the Gardener is up here, and you know, if Jim Carrey's Cable Guy, you know, he's down there in terms of functioning, you know, and health. one of my favorite films of all time, Belle de Jour, a Louis Buñuel film. It's a
I like that art.
excellent film. 1967. Catherine Deneuve, who was, she was one of the most beautiful women of her generation. It's a very good kind of erotic drama there. One of my favorite movies of all time right here, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, directed by Russ Meyer, written by Roger Ebert.
Yeah, I've seen like other shit from that dude, and I've just never gotten around to watching that.
Oh, this is fantastic, and it has nothing.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the original Valley of the Dolls.
I have both of those on a multi-film collections, and I need to watch them definitely.
Yeah, well, it's funny. So Valley of the Dolls, I'm kind of cheating there, but Valley of the Dolls was an adaptation of a serious book, but it was a melodrama and done in a very melodramatic fashion. But it has Sharon Tate before her tragic murder, and she does a really good job in this. But the film itself is very melodramatic, but it does have a early John Williams score, which is kind of cool.
I like how that cover looks like a 60s lingerie ad or something. Like it goes from,
It does kind of look like that, but then what's funny is, so the movie was a hit, and 20th Century Fox wanted to put out a sequel even though there wasn't a sequel book, and so they had the original author of the book try to write a sequel script, and they didn't like it, and they still had the rights to the book, but what they did instead was they did not so much a sequel, but almost more like a spoof or like a parody of like movie cliches in general. Trying to fix that glare there. So Beyond the Valley of the Dolls is really more of a spoof, and it's not really a sequel. It just happens to have like that same title, and it's put out by the same studio. And they actually say in the beginning that it's not a sequel to Valley of the Dolls. But so that's why normally when there's a sequel, I put them together, but that doesn't really count. That'd be like putting Airplane next to Airport, and calling that a sequel. It's like, no, that wouldn't count. David Cronenberg's The Brood. Oh, that's
fucking ruined me as a child, dude. My mom bought me that with Evil Dead for Christmas on DVD. I'd already had Evil Dead, so that was an upgrade. But she bought me The Brood, like just blind buy. And she licks that friggin' fetus. Oh my god, I've never recovered from that shit, even with everything I've watched.
It's such a good movie because it was written. David Cronenberg made it kind of as a way to process his divorce, which you can definitely
there's some emotional shit going on in The Brood, and it's definitely like a very toxic movie, I guess. He's letting out some frustrations there.
Most definitely, and we already saw this Bruce Lee set, which that's awesome. That's the first of the ones that I got in not part of the part of the sale, but not from Barnes & Noble, from Amazon, because they ran out at Barnes & Noble. But yeah, we all seen that, great set there. Can't wait to dive into it. One of my favorite horror movies, Cat People, the original.
Oh, yeah. I got that on there.
I would love it if they put out more of the Val Lewton horror films. Now, I know Scream Factory has put out several of them, but yeah, this is such a good movie. Very underrated.
Dig that lady's hairline.
Yeah. Orson Welles' Chimes at Midnight. I need to get more of his films that they put out. I'm trying to. What do I do about that glare? I don't know if anybody can see.
It's not coming off too bad. It looks
a particular angle to the light. Like you just hit it. Lots of times when I'm doing pickup videos, I have to redo it because that shit's annoying.
Yeah, it bugs me. But yeah, this was actually one of the more unique Shakespeare adaptations because it adapts from several plays, from both parts of both Henry IV Part 1 and 2, Richard II, Henry V, and The Merry Wives of Windsor. Adapts from all of those plays because it's all about Falstaff, who's in all those plays. So
was he like Greek Santa or something, or what was Shakespeare?
Well, so Falstaff in the plays, in those plays, he's kind of a comic relief character, and Orson Welles saw Falstaff as being kind of like the way that he saw himself, and he always kind of related to Falstaff because he was someone who liked to party. He, liked a good time. He hung out with the young Prince Harry before he becomes Henry V. And once he becomes king, then he has to kind of put aside childish things, and at that time is when Falstaff dies. And so it's kind of a tragic thing, but it also signals that the young, reckless Prince Harry has to become king and has to prove himself. So
it's time to grow up, you little bitch.
Exactly. Basically.
What was that? It was like a soup commercial where Orson Welles is freaking out on the people.
You're thinking of his Paul Masson wine, a California champagne commercial. But yeah, we already saw The Circus here. That's another one I got in the sale. My favorite film of all time, City Lights.
You got all this in that sale?
No. I'm telling you which ones came in the sale, but City Lights there, my favorite film of all time, and Chaplin's best. We got Crumb, an amazing documentary.
Great one.
About art, about the artist.
Sweet cover art on there too.
Oh, I know.
I've seen it like 50 times. It's not necessarily due to my want to, but
it's one of the few trailers I don't skip when it shows up on something too. I don't know, I just like that Crumb trailer also.
Got Days of Heaven here, the Terrence Malick film, which I saw this in college and I loved it. I need to get the Tree of Life, but and the Thin Red Line, but I loved it. I absolutely love Days of Heaven there.
That's another one. I have the Thin Red Line and the New World. And
actually,
what an upgrade!
Let me see. Oh yeah, that's. Actually, I'm glad they started putting some Spike Lee stuff in the collection.
Oh yeah, I debated about like Bamboozle, but then I was like, well, this is my favorite of his that I've seen. I haven't seen all of his films, but I remembered I used to have this in the collection when it was just the normal Universal Blu-ray, and then I sold it once I knew the Criterion was coming out, so I finally got it, and I love this movie to death. And this was
the Academy.
That was part of the sale also.
I wanted to show you here. Do you have this yet?
No, I don't.
Yeah, that thing's glorious.
I do.
Awesome. It is glorious. It is glorious. It was expensive, and I was trying to debate, what of the ones do I want to get that's, I mean, I'll get that eventually.
See, the problem, I want stuff like that so bad, and I'm definitely getting more of it, but eventually it's like, what do? None of it fits on a shelf. You have to have, a Batcave fucking display of, the giant coin and shit. That's the fucking Godzilla set.
Some of those I have that way. So I got Eraserhead, of course, is an amazing film. David Lynch's first film and one of his best by far. I
love showing that to people with no explanation beforehand.
That's the best way.
You just sit them down to Eraserhead and ruin their day.
It's good to go into that cold. But you got Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which this is
another
hilarious.
I have got that one.
I love this.
Is that Ralph Steadman did the art, or is that just a really good interpretation?
I believe it was Ralph Steadman himself, if I recall. But this is a grower. When I first saw it, because I hadn't read the book. When I first saw it, I didn't really know what to make of it, and then it's one of those ones that it gets better with each repeat viewing.
For sure. Does Where the Buffalo Roam have a Criterion?
It has a shout select.
That one's sick, dude. A lot of people only fucked with Fear and Loathing and never got around to
I need to see Where the Buffalo Roam. Now this I got in the sale, Ghost World, which I only saw that earlier this year, but I fucking loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Ghost World rules.
Oh,
Leif Yonker just did it as a double feature at that drive-in. Same as that.
Saw Ghost World 3 times in theaters.
Sweet.
Actually, I think everybody in this room has a copy.
Yeah,
I think so. I mean, I think this is this is a great set, but talk about not being able to fit it on your shelf.
It's clearly meant to go behind Godzilla action figures,
Well, this thing is like
Let me
it's
get
like
this
a
with everybody so that they can present.
The wall
Yeah,
of Godzilla.
this thing is like a children's book, you know, like how massive it is, you know, and it just, I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but you know, it's like I do have to like, I have it on top of my shelf. I have it on top, kind of partially open like this, so it'll stand up. But yeah, it's like, you know.
You want to see
Here's
it next
my
to
massive fucking nugget for scale right there. Check that out.
Oh yeah.
I want to know how big the Bergman collection is comparatively.
Right.
Actually,
Yeah,
Turn them sideways.
so that you can see. Now, it is the Bergman set is slightly bigger on that side.
The Godzilla set has length, but the Bergman set has girth.
But definitely,
Hey, both are equally as important, you know.
it's actually, if anybody
you
has
know.
had that Herschel Gordon, was it Herschel Gordon Levitt? I can't think of the
Lewis.
Lewis.
Herschel Gordon
Just
Lewis.
H.G. Lewis is a good way to
Yeah,
shorten it. Also makes him sound like he wrote children's books, which I think is fucking hilarious.
That is funny.
It's actually laid out very similarly to that set, which is a pretty awesome set.
Isn't that supposed to be like
Yeah.
a box of cereal, the H.G. Lewis one?
There is one there like that.
Kind of emulates it. Got the Gold Rush. This is, out of all the Chaplin films that I've seen, this is the one I've seen the least amount of times, but I need to watch it again.
Awesome film.
And of course, The Great Dictator, which we love. An amazing film that only gets better with age. I love that.
I love how it's got that where you turn it upside down.
Yeah, I love it too.
Oh yeah, it's definitely.
Oh shit, demonetized. No, that's
If we had monetization, we'd have lost it. But
yeah, pretty much. Of course, now this is when I got in the sale, A Hard Day's Night, which I absolutely love this film. Who doesn't?
If they release it, I really wish they would do Help. I don't know why, but I thought Help was the wackier of the Beatles.
Yeah, well, they I think it was Apple Records themselves. I think they put out Help. This is when I got in the sale Haxon, which I fucking love that cover. It's so creepy.
Oh, yeah.
That is so metal. It's insane.
I know, I love it. And then I got another H1 in the sale, which is Heaven's Gate, which I'm very eager to see because of how it basically ruined Michael Cimino's career. But then with this new cut, it's gotten a lot of retrospective praise. So here's hoping that it gets redeemed, you know, retroactively. Of course, Lindsay Anderson's If, which is an amazing film, and it's why Malcolm McDowell was cast as Alex DeLarge, because Kubrick loved his performance in the film, and good for it, because it's a very proto Alex character. Very, very underrated film noir in a lonely place with Humphrey Bogart playing a screenwriter, which is cool. I watched that as part of one of my screenwriting classes because it was a movie about a screenwriter in like the earlier days of Hollywood. And that was a Nicholas Ray film. One of my all-time favorite movies, In Cold Blood. Love this movie. Love it. Love it. Yeah, and it's I think this has one of the best titles of all time. It's just In Cold Blood. It's just I love it.
I always just like that Truman Capote guy's name. Like Truman Capote, it just sounds like what you'd name a fancy horse or something.
Something like that.
He's won several gold medals. You know?
Yeah, and then In the Realm of the Senses, which is an amazing film. It's very sexually explicit and unsimulated, and you see
we can't tell by the cover.
Yeah, well, but it's like, you know, you see all the bits and pieces that you'd want to see, and all the liquidy proof that it is in fact unsimulated.
Soul. Let's make some babies.
Naughty bits.
Oh yeah, all the naughty bits and all the proof that indeed someone was very happy while they were making the movie.
Speaking of happy, I thought that said the happiness night or something like that.
That one I do have is part of a fancy collection. I do have that Frank Capra set that's pretty cool.
Well, this is an amazing film too. This was kind of like the last hurrah for pre-code Hollywood, and so you had like a bunch of jokes and elements in here that would be quickly phased out once the Hays Code came into effect. But it's still a great film. It was the first. It was the first film to ever win all 5 of the major awards: director, picture, actor, actress, and adapted screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got The Kid, of course, great Chaplin film. I love look how oversized the title is. I love it, and that's a good earlier film of his. One of my favorite, one of Kubrick's best early films, The Killing, with probably my favorite Criterion cover, because look how fucking creepy that is. I love it. Like that seriously looks like that should be like a horror. It
looks like
movie.
Something you'd see at a Primus concert.
Yeah, but it looks like it should be a horror movie, but it's not. It's a crime film.
Is he playing a guitar?
No, he's got a gun.
Shit! I thought he was playing a big ass guitar. I was like,
no, he's wearing a clown mask too. So it's basically like a proto Dark Knight. La Dolce Vita, which I found this for like $3, and I was shocked. I was shocked. Like that's the least amount that I've ever paid for a Criterion in my life. And one of my favorite movies of all time, The Last Temptation of Christ. I absolutely love this film. That's one we should talk about sometime.
When I was a teenager going through confirmation at church, our pastor showed us that in confirmation class. I thought that was great.
Last Temptation. I mean, that's pretty progressive of him. I'm impressed, and I give him kudos, because that movie does make you think pretty deeply about the central dilemmas of Christianity. I think more than any other biblical film I've ever seen. And of course, Charlie Chaplin's Limelight, a later period Chaplin film. Now, this is one I bought sight unseen. There was The Lure.
Yes.
And if the price point was good and it has a cool cover, so it's mermaids. It's like I love mermaids. I was not on that episode.
Yeah,
no, I wasn't on that episode, but I've always, ever since The Little Mermaid, I've kind of had a fascination with mermaids, shall we say, and so I'm eager to see that finally.
It's a
Daryl Hannah and Splash for me.
It's a musical nightmare take on The Little Mermaid.
Nice. Fritz Lang's M, with one of the best covers ever, because it's lifted directly from the film, but it's. I only saw this relatively recently, like maybe early this year, but I absolutely loved it. I love Fritz Lang in general, but man, that was so good.
That's one I need for sure.
Roman Polanski's Macbeth, which was, I think, the first film that he made directly after the Manson family killings. And there's a scene in here that very much people said it kind of evokes the Manson family murders, and he denied that it did. And maybe he didn't consciously put it in there, but it definitely, the feeling of it, you could kind of imagine maybe this is some kind of unconscious catharsis for him. And, it's something that, regardless of the later bad stuff that he did, when it comes to that particular event, I have nothing but sympathy for him, because that has to have been so unbelievably, unimaginably horrible that none of us can even comprehend it. To have your beloved wife just get brutally murdered like that, and 11 months or whatever, 8 months pregnant.
Fun trivia for that right there. The cover actually inspired the end of Terminator 2. They just,
this right here. Nice.
Yeah, right there. Arnie didn't carry a dagger, though, so they just swapped it for the thumbs up, and the rest is history.
Why not? One of this I got during the sale, Midnight Cowboy, one of my favorite movies.
Worth getting, yeah.
Great one.
Best Picture winner, only X-rated movie to ever win Best Picture.
They did Rat So Wrong.
Back when they had the X rating, and then they re-rated it to R. One of my favorite covers for one of my favorite movies, Modern Times, one of Chaplin's best by far. I think that's such a cool cover. kind of in a weird way, like this goes well with Metropolis, even though this came out, in the 1936 instead of 1927. And then one of Chaplin's most obscure films, but one of his most underrated, Monsieur Verdoux, which is a sound film, but it's so good. It's so fucking dark. It's really like fucked up, and that's why it's great. That it shows that he could do like really dark humor and do it really well.
So I got a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Is there any collections any of you guys would like to see show up on Criterion? Or individual films?
Oh, yeah.
We did a whole episode about that the last time, if I recall. Mulholland Drive.
I was thinking about one, though, because, they do a fair number of directors' collections. It's rare that they do a full actor collection or even a partial one, like that Bruce Lee one.
Yeah.
One that would be very interesting to see would be a Marlon Brando collection.
That would be good. I mean, they put out a couple of his films on there, so they should like do a compilation or something.
Right.
Kind of like what they did with Guillermo del Toro.
One thing I would love to see is a bonus feature on that. There was a documentary that came out 3 or 4 years ago. They never got it at my library, so I never got around to seeing it. But I want to see it. It was a documentary called Listen to Me, Marlon. It was supposed to be really good, but it was supposed to be about the trials and travails of working with the man. And given the stories that are out there.
There were many, I'm sure. I love this. I love this film right here, The Night of the Hunter.
Yeah.
One of my favorite covers for a Criterion film. This one was a grower for me too, but when I was older, I really got the Gothic fiction aspects of it and how it took a lot from German Expressionism. Here's one that you guys might not have, I don't know, but it's The Night of the Living Dead. This is that 50th anniversary set that it was put out by, I want to say, George Romero's like whatever like corporation he set up to try and make some kind of money from the movie, even though like it's kind of hard to do that because it's public domain. But that box, among other things, it does come with the Criterion of Night of the Living Dead. But like it's got like the graphic novel, it's got all kinds of cool extras and stuff. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's well worth it because it's something that I think that they like his estate or whatever put out themselves, and so it's not something that you will find on Criterion's like website or anything, and yet the Criterion's in there. This is one I got during the sale, The Night Porter. I've been watching that, and so far it's really fucking good. It's very much something that you probably couldn't make today, and they were lucky to get to make it at that time. One of my favorite movies on the waterfront, speaking of Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody instead of a bum, which is what I am. Let's face it. So you gotta get the lower jaw.
Yeah.
That's why. One of Kubrick's first real masterpieces, Paths of Glory, of course, with Kirk Douglas. Amazing film. It's funny, like a lot of the people that like Spielberg, I think this might be his favorite of Kubrick's films, and it definitely, you can see some of the influence that Kubrick took from it in like War Horse because of the World War I setting, and only a few left. The Player, Robert Altman film, great Hollywood satire. Very much worth it if you've never seen it. Has a shitload of stars in it. And oh yeah, my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson film by far, Adam Sandler's best movie by far, Punch Drunk Love. Which
I've got such a nice edition. It's another one that I was
so fucking thankful that they put this out because I relate to this movie, to this character so much, and
it was good.
I can't say enough good things about it. And there's a really cool video on YouTube where somebody actually compares which we watched Richard Donner's Superman the other day. He actually compares Richard Donner's Superman to this film, and there are a surprising number of parallels, more so than you might think. David Cronenberg's Scanners with one of the more
once it came out, it just had to be
one of the more abstract covers that they've ever done, and a great film. It reminded me a lot of X-Men. Like it really did. It had a lot of.
I can see that.
Speaking of parallels to Superman, this reminded me a lot of X-Men.
Everybody thinks about the exploding heads, and like that's all they think of.
But that's just the beginning.
More of it, yeah.
Dude, it's just this fucking Michael Ironside, and he's like, "I'm gonna suck your brain dry."
Another one I have on DVD.
Well, this is one I got in the sale, and one of my favorite movies of all time. I think Andy McDowell really knocks it out of the park in this film, and it's another film that like you'd be lucky if you made a film like this today, just because anything about sex that isn't like that isn't 50 Shades of Grey bullshit, something that actually has something to say about human sexuality. You're lucky that if you get to make it today, and of course. If you count this as a horror film, it's by far my favorite. It's just, what more can you even say about Silence of the Lambs that hasn't already been said? It's just pretty much a perfect film,
I can actually agree.
I've never really been one to separate, because it's a thriller or whatever, right?
Yeah,
well, it's the same shit. It's just horror without blood and gore and gratuitousness.
Well, it's got. I think it's got enough horror elements in it to count, but it definitely is also a thriller as well. Of course, Some Like It Hot, one of the funniest movies ever made. If you follow the American Film Institute, they call it the funniest film ever made. And
I think it's overrating it, but it's still funny.
Oh yeah,
it's funny.
It's definitely up there, that's for sure. Stranger Than Paradise. Now, talk about an avant-garde movie, Jim Jarmusch. I remembered seeing this in college, and it was very off the beaten track, shall we say. I need to see more Jim Jarmusch films because he's someone who's like a true one of a kind filmmaker. Got this during the sale, Straw Dogs. Which I need to see because I absolutely love The Wild Bunch. Yeah, and I need to watch this because I love shit that's really super violent and disturbing. Speaking of disturbing, but in a totally different way, To Be or Not to Be, the original, which it is a comedy and it is a good one, but it also this reminds me a lot of what Inglourious Bastards would later do, as far as like people like having to infiltrate and deceive Nazis, basically. And then we already saw Valley of the Dolls, and then last but certainly not least, Videodrome. One of the best. One of the best.
Long live the New Flesh.
Yes, and look at that. It looks like a VHS tape or a beta tape, actually.
That's amazing. I love it. Yeah. I just want to put it in that guy's tummy.
Actually,
I'm sure you do. But so that is the collection.
Nice.
Thank you.
I couldn't show mine. It would take too long, unfortunately.
I tried to assemble mine, and I'm thinking it would take too long too. But just real quick, I'm going to do a little scan around the table here.
Please. Stretch my legs out.
Each of these stacks.
Good Lord.
And that's not counting the big collections, the Godzilla and the Bergman. But I do want to point out, Dane, you were talking about favorite covers. I absolutely love this set. I love every bit of this set, but I just love the way it looks. The Trilogia de Guillermo del Toro. I mean, that is such a classy, cool little set.
Oh, let me put that.
And that's again, you open it up.
During that great
you'd fucking pull out of some rich dude's desk and it would expose all his family secrets or something.
Right.
Yeah, like cigarettes.
This, of course, is the one that has the Devil's Backbone, Kronos, and
Pan's Labyrinth.
And it has
so beautiful
hardcover book inside. And it's got so many bonus features. It is a great, great collection. And And I love.
Should I get that? Should I get that and the 4K of Pan's Labyrinth also? Do you think?
I think they have the same
I
special
don't know. I mean, it's considered a. Well, I think these are technically 2K restorations. So if you really want the 4K, it would be a higher grade than that. But it's like I said, it's such a cool set. And then of course, just for fun, I got to show that's the Chaplin Collection as it currently exists. Woo! I do not yet have Monservado, but I've got all these others.
Well, I think that's the only one you're missing that they've put out.
I think so yeah, it's a pretty decent chunk.
Yeah.
And,
So I knew the only one I was missing was the circus, and so I made sure to grab it in the sale because I was like, I got to get them all.
And I will go ahead and just run through the viewed. We'll go ahead and run through the viewed Blu-ray. In addition to Del Toro, I already said Sullivan's Travels. We've got Elia Kazan's A Face in the Crowd, wonderful Andy Griffith film, really disturbing.
Yeah, I've heard good things about that.
Wonderful Mike Leigh film based on the plays of Gilbert and Sullivan called Topsy Turvy.
Neat.
That's a nice little set there. Wong Kar-wai's In the Mood for Love.
I've heard nothing but great things about that.
Phenomenal film. And the dude, it's amazing. The dude is a true artist. Several of his films, including this one, have been Oscar nominated, but he has never been nominated once. I got Hitchcock's Rebecca, a nice 2-disc collection there. Really good stuff.
I contemplated getting that too.
Got Phoenix by Christian Petzold. Interesting film.
That's a cool cover.
My copy of Allure.
Yeah.
They all got that in time for the movie.
Boring Russian film called Letter Never Sent. Look at these special features.
Wow.
Woo!
Mind blowing. Peter Jackson, eat your heart out.
Kagemusha, we had a discussion on that one.
Oh yes.
My favorite hero.
I love Death by Hanging was great.
Actually, was that an Inside Movies Galore discussion, or was that just a private discussion between you, me, and...
That was before the show, I believe.
Yeah.
And then a film that had no shortage of controversy regarding the director, but it was a pretty good film nonetheless. Blue is the warmest color.
Oh, yeah. I debated getting that one, too, because it's relatively inexpensive.
Right. And you mentioned Jim Jarmusch. I remember Dan O'Day telling us about one of his favorite movies. I still haven't watched it, but I do have Down by Law.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of fun stuff to be, And I'm going to be pushing for a Movies Galore discussion on this one so I can watch it.
Yeah. I saw that movie for the first time when I was in college in our local theater off of the main street, Franklin Street, when they showed older movies on the big screen. I saw that on the big screen and for the first time, and that was fun. It was a fun one.
So for Dave and for Mo, just as a aside, now for Dave, I know that sometimes the special features weren't really your thing, and I know Criterion, I don't know if they still do this, but they used to have these essential art house releases.
Yeah.
They have the decent restoration. And they're like $10 nowadays. You can get them really cheap.
They didn't overdo it.
One of those. I think I have Black Orpheus as one of those. I think.
And that's just one that's like for me.
That's what
I want to upgrade, but yeah.
That's what James Films put up out on. In fact, that used to be part of a Essential Art House box set at one point in time.
That's right.
And then they started selling them separately.
Now
in fact, I believe Jean Cocteau's Beauty and the Beast was actually part of that Essential Art House collection at one point in time.
Yep. If you guys saw my unboxing, you'll remember how hard it was to get, once you got the slipcase off, how much I struggled getting it back on. And I was like, why? Why does this have to be so hard? And the reason why is because of that plastic fold that catches.
Yeah.
That was the problem.
So the others are like these Eclipse series. I'm sure that some of y'all are familiar with
one of
these,
those.
right?
Yeah.
So
I'm
for me,
familiar with those.
I mean, these again, for Mo, you're talking about like film collector sets. They do a lot of them here. Which you've got these two Kurosawa ones, which has like first films of Kurosawa and post-war Kurosawa, which has a lot of the films that they haven't released on Criterion, which is pretty darn
Right.
cool. But
Yeah, that's stuff that I'd like to get, so just to fill in those slots in his filmography, you know.
I don't know
Well,
why,
if
but
that- if
I
that's-
see you on this,
cool.
Mo. Leningrad Cowboys. I don't know why, but I could see
If
you
that's-
loving this stuff. Like,
If that's the only way to get them, like if they're not putting
already
them out
like
on
the
Blu-ray or
title.
whatever, then yeah, you could definitely make that happen.
the guy that's the lead singer in it, like he has that big old pompadour, like you see in the anime, where it's got
There
like a
you go.
weird cone shape in the front of the head. It's just like
It's
it's
amazing.
just like awesome. But actually, we haven't heard much from you and Dave. Do you have anything cool that you can think of from your experience with Criterion?
Well, I pretty much have all the sets that you guys have. I mean, I got some Kurosawa stuff. It looks like Dane doesn't have, but that's about the only thing I could think of that's different than anything. I went for like all the samurai shit, like right out of the gate.
There is so much. There's so much
Yeah.
in the way of like Kurosawa and other Japanese cinema that I don't have yet, and part of the reason why that is because there's so much in the way of like things that I have seen that I love that I still don't have in the collection that I'm trying to like catch. I mean, again, it's like, what do you leave off, you know? And that's always like twisting the arm and like torturing yourself into like, what do I leave off? Because I do want to expand that. And there's actually Kwaiden is a Japanese.
yeah.
I guess you
That is
could
a good
call
one.
that.
I'm glad I have that.
Well,
one.
I guess you could call that a horror film, but it's more like a they're ghost stories and they're like folkloric tales, but it's not really scary. It's more art house, but it's really damn good. Like that's one I want to get in the collection. And
I
like
remember that one had a Yuki Onna story, and I love Yuki Onna stories.
Yeah.
That was
actually. You remember when we were talking about who could really deserve a good Criterion set like this? Kurosawa.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Most of this stuff's on Criterion anyway. Can you imagine a bad boy like this with all the Kurosawa films?
Well, dude, and
Absolutely.
that comes back around to, I mean, I wasn't here last time, so like I didn't really get to submit something that I think should be a Criterion set, and my vote would be for the El Santo movies from Mexico.
Oh, heck yeah.
See, and while you were probably salivating over that particular set, this is the set that I was like drooling over for the longest time of Ingmar Bergman.
Nice.
And then finally it was like $20. So
and this
and that was out of print for the longest time.
Back to the question earlier about have we compared DVD with Blu-ray? Whenever I finally do get to that Bergman set, whenever that happens, and whenever I actually work my way through it, I did already have these two on DVD.
Yeah.
And I will definitely be closely comparing the special features, but it might be interesting to compare the DVD versus the Blu-ray and see, you know, if they really did upgrade it all that much. I remember when this came out, I actually pre-ordered this one, and it's got some pretty good stuff on it. This one's actually kind of bare bones, surprisingly.
Have any of y'all actually opened up your Godzilla sets now? Okay, Mo, I wanted to ask you. You'd said that the comparison as far as the '85 Godzilla wasn't so big a deal with it as far as the Blu-ray, but what about like? Have you seen any like older versions of?
Oh, tons! Yeah, those are beautiful.
Like this? So they did a good job with the restoration. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. It looks nice.
I used to have the single edition of the first one, and again during that great purging, like I had to sell a lot of stuff. Although I'm glad that I don't have it anymore because again I got it back in the form of the big collection there, so it's not a big deal. But yeah, I used to have the single edition of the Seventh Seal, which is of course great. But again, once I get that
Mhm.
Bergman collection, I'll get it back. Because I do want to get it. It was just more of like, well, I knew I wanted the Bruce Lee set, because I pre-ordered it on Amazon, but I'm glad I canceled my pre-order because it later was much cheaper, and that was the right time to do it. And then the other ones, it was like, well, I wanted to see the Night Porter for a long time. Needed to get some Like It Hot back in the collection. Always wanted to see Straw Dogs. It's like all these things that like sort of like I knew that they already meant something to me, or like Do the Right Thing, which I just absolutely love that film. It's just things like that it's like, well, you got to do things that mean something to you, plus things that you think, okay, this is going to be like foundational for me, especially like as a filmmaker. It's like, something like Straw Dogs. It's like, it's a gritty, super violent movie, and it's like, if you're a fan of like me, if you're a fan of violence in film that actually like really leaves an impact, like a not like a slasher movie where it happens so much that you're just like whatever, but like like a Mel Gibson directed film where like when violence happens that it really leaves an impact and you don't forget it, and it's like that to me is like if you're going to do violence on film at all, it better really mean something. And so it's like it's things like that, like what can I learn from this, how can I grow as an artist, and so that can kind of help guide your decisions. And of course, if it's something potentially controversial or scandalous or whatever, then that can often drive your decision making, if you're like me and you're attracted to that sort of thing.
Let me wrap. Oh, go ahead, Dave. I'll let you. Since you haven't had a chance, really. Go ahead.
I wanted to show my Criterion stuff that I picked up here real quick. I haven't showed it in my videos yet, but so
please do.
You guys. So I picked up Sword of the Beast by Hideo Gosha.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Need that.
And then I picked up H.G. Wells' Things to Come.
Nice.
I contemplated that one.
Yeah.
And then I picked up The War of the Worlds on
yeah.
Because even though I already have it on a double feature with War of the Worlds or something like that.
Oh yeah.
I still wanted to see how good it was on Blue, and it did not disappoint. Even though I'm not a fan of Blue, I actually think that really accentuated it.
Well, that movie's a classic. So, and plus it had the special features.
Those were the three that I had.
Good deal. War of the Worlds was on my list, but they didn't have it at the local store.
It did come with the original radio broadcast on it. So
yeah,
so I my fiance sit through it.
Nice.
I didn't pick up shit, but I will say that the El Santo movies need to have a Criterion set. Okay, dude was like a fucking legend in lucha libre in Mexico. Did like over 50 movies.
Wow.
And lots of them are friggin' like horror movies, sci-fi, mystery films, detective movies. Like he was that famous.
Criterion needs to pick up.
Plus, it was Mexico.
Speaking of Mexico,
cinema circuit.
Criterion needs to pick up the Santos sets, or the make a Santos wrestler set.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying, dude. They need to do like the best of his movies on a set, because it is culturally important too to Mexicans that live outside of Mexico.
Yeah.
A lot of them
well, I mean, they put out like they put out like well, with Guillermo del Toro and with Alfonso Cuarón, they did like they did Y Tu Mama Tambien, they did Roma. What other like Mexican films have they put out? I mean, that's one of the things I really love about the back of the film is that they'll the back of these they'll usually tell you the country that they came from. Most of the time, like I'm trying to.
One thing they need to do that I'm surprised they haven't jumped on this yet is Cuarón and Del Toro famously are buds with Alejandro González Iñárritu. And we really need a Criterion release of Amores Perros, and also of Babel, and probably some of his others as well. It may be a little soon yet to do Birdman, but I would like to see that one of these days.
They gotta put the Revenant out
sound like
there.
a joke, me recommending the Luchador movies or whatever, but that's like it was a thing down
good thing.
Well, it's
when
a
you start
culture
looking into El Santo, you quickly
Yeah.
realize, like, holy shit, yeah, I ought to put this guy in every movie I made too. Why not?
right.
I mean, that's the thing. When you got somebody who works hard and does that much work, I mean, that's a large body of work, and you got to respect that.
Dude,
Imagine-
El Santo was never outside of the mask, I think, in like 58 years or some shit like that.
Oh, wow.
Like, nobody knew what he looked like for that long. Like,
You
well
know
into
what
modern
you know what
times.
I think they.
You know what he looked like? He probably had a ton of zits from all the sweat.
Oh, no, those luchas are in good shape. They still, they just wear it when they're in public,
Right.
Okay, well that's good. I mean, because if he wore it all the time, then he'd be in trouble.
I'm sure he wore it sometimes recreationally, if you know what I mean, but I don't
He's
think
like,
it was like 24/7.
He was like Dark Man. He had different faces that he was creating for himself under the mask. He was just teasing us all.
Well, I was thinking like the Mandalorian, how like I never take off the helmet, and I'm thinking never because like how like in The Man with the Iron Mask, how like Leo's hair was in front of his face, and he doesn't look like amazing when they first take it off, but then of course they clean him up and beautiful Leonardo DiCaprio face. And I'm thinking, well, if he actually had the mask on for all that time, like can you imagine like his skin would probably be sticking to the metal and stuff. And it's like I was thinking with the Mandalorian, I was like, if you never take it off, can you imagine how horrible his face must look? But no, they did explain it later. He does take it off to like eat and when no one's looking and stuff. Which I would hope so. You got to clean that shit because otherwise it's like, man, he would look so horrible.
I'm guessing you're trying to talk to us, Mo, or
you got your mute on.
Sorry.
There you go.
Dude, a lot of parallels in Mandalorian to Lone Wolf and Cub. So you guys that have those sets will be enjoying that soon. So it's basically Lone Wolf and Cub in space.
I want to go ahead and start wrapping this up, but what I want to do is something slightly different for outros. I'm actually going to give the outros back to y'all because I'm not in a run set situation right now, but I want y'all to each say a little bit about yourself. Name one title that if you could get any title right now from the Criterion Collection that's out right now, what it would be. And of course, one movie that you really think should get the Criterion treatment, like full on Criterion treatment. And we'll start with, why don't we start with Dave?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
I think The Wizard of Oz.
That'd be a good one. I never have gotten the Criterion treatment.
The Wizard of Oz, and one that I really think should make it is there's a version of the Bluebird bird that is only in Russian and English that has Elizabeth Taylor in it, and I think it's got some art stuff that would definitely be more for the Criterion set, and it has not got a North American release yet. So, not a Kino version of the original silent film version of that. And they've got the Shirley Temple version out on a set, but this one has not made a North American release. I would love to see this particular version because it's a musical. And it's partially Russian and English to become part of the Criterion Collection.
So if out of all the items on Criterion, if you could grab one of the ones right now that's out on Criterion, Dave, what would it be?
Right now?
Like if let's say somebody gave you you were in Barnes and Noble, they had all of them there in stock, and you could just here's a ticket, you can have one. What would it be?
Right now, even though I don't really need it, the Bruce Lee, but
I can understand.
because other than that, I guess if I had to choose one, I would have to say Rashomon.
Cool. So, Dave, tell us just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll move on to the next person.
Well, my name is David Strege. I'm one of the founding fathers of Inside Movies Galore, which is a channel that will be going on tomorrow night with a couple of fantastic films for our superhero month, which are, well, the first one is Shazam, the movie remake of the original 1970s shall I say Marvel Comics universe, or was it
Shazam?
Well, no, it's
DC.
yeah, Shazam. Well, adapted from the originally the Fawcett Comics character of the same name, and then DC bought those characters, and he was Captain Marvel, and then they finally formally changed his name to Shazam to avoid a lawsuit with Marvel Comics.
Instead, they got a lawsuit from Gomer Pyle.
and then Darkman. Another DC Comics, or was it?
No, it was an original character.
I believe it was
putting
Darkman.
this on.
Yeah, it was
original character.
I've already watched the
done.
first two films in the series. I'm hoping to watch the third one before we do. Though I do go back to work tomorrow, so that's probably.
Well, that's good news, bro.
Just to get back there. So, and I also moonlight under a different channel called Delusions of Grandeur. Check out the video uploads and the reviews there. So, thank you.
So, Dane, if there was any one film or collection of films that you haven't mentioned already that you could get on Criterion, what would it be?
Well, because it would save me a shitload of money, I think the Ingmar Bergman set would be great for that reason, or this Hitchcock set here with it's The Man Who Knew Too Much, The 39 Steps, The Lady Vanishes, and Foreign Correspondent, and that would be pretty good.
I didn't realize they completed them into one
What about
set.
what about stuff that's not released already? What would be one
There's
thing
Foreign
that you feel like should
Correspondent.
be released?
Yeah, well, they put that out, but then they also put out other Hitchcock films that are not on there, like Rebecca and the
Right.
London Fog and things like that. Now, something that isn't on there already that should be. Again, my classic answer would have been The Elephant Man, but it is on there now. So instead of that, well, one that it was out of print for a while, put out by Touchstone. It is coming out again, thanks to Samuel Goldwyn Films, of all things, that I think would actually be pretty cool for the Criterion Collection would be Apocalypto. You know, that's one that I think there's a lot more to it than a lot of people think, and it's one that I think will sweeten with age, and I think it kind of already has in many ways. But that's one that comes to mind right now. I mean, or maybe like David Lynch's Inland Empire. You know, that would be pretty cool. You could scour the public domain, collections as far as like anything that's really good that they haven't already put out. And we already talked about an Ed Wood set, which I think would be amazing. Right. Like if you put out like the 3 films that are featured in the movie Ed Wood, and you put out the movie Ed Wood in there also. I think, basically that, but nicer.
But yeah, much nicer. Yes.
Exactly. But like if they could do that, I think that'd be awesome. That would show that he made it.
So tell us a little bit about yourself as I pick my stuff up off the floor.
Gotta pick my heart up off the floor. I am Dane Kyle, aka Dane Damarung on YouTube, where I am on a channel called Indie Horror Film Creative, and I do a show called Blu-ray Views, and you'll see me do unboxings of things that come in the mail, or I'll talk about random subjects related to film, or and horror films are like underrated horror gems or whatever. And getting ready to move next month, so my schedule continues to be for making the No Money Film School. It tends to other things just keep popping up that are kind of important, but nonetheless, it's just something that I have to contend with. And I just realized in my show and tell I missed one, Blue Velvet, the David Lynch classic. Yeah, I just saw it on the shelf. And see, that's the thing. Like these things, like they hide. It's like you have to.
I'd like to convert to Criterion.
Oh yeah, well I'd see it right there on the shelf. Yeah, but I was like, I swear I have more David Lynch, but yeah, it's Blue Velvet's on the shelf there.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll get back to Mo once he gets back. But Jake, so if you were given you had Criterion's ear, and you could actually have.
Let's let him go.
Okay, we'll go back to you, Mo. So if you had Criterion's ear and you got them to actually okay the Luchador set, but you also had one more that you could throw out there because I wanted to give you another shot out there as well. What would you say you would like to see them do the Criterion treatment with?
Well, shit. I mean, I don't know, man. There's a few movies that I don't know if they have one, like Dog Day Afternoon.
That would be good.
They do.
That would be good, yeah.
Yeah.
That's an excellent
That
film.
feels like one that would already be on there, but I haven't looked for it. But it's like I was thinking about that the other day.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had mentioned this the last time we talked about it because Arrow Academy in the UK, they put out Network, but again that's Region B. But in the US, I see no reason why Network couldn't be on there because that would be a perfect choice.
Is that Network on there?
Does the Deer Hunter have one?
That's on Shout Select.
Oh.
That's on Shout Select.
See, the Deer Hunter would be nice to see on Criterion as well.
Well, they put out Heaven's Gate, so I mean, they did cover off their Michael Cimino.
Dude, nothing's off the table now that they have the Brood on there, because if bitches are licking fetuses, we can do whatever. Nobody's drawing a line anymore. This isn't art house shit at this point.
Scream Factory, dude. Scream Factory put out Rabid, which I loved.
So, Mo, if you were to walk in and you actually had actually I know the answer to this, but if you were to walk into Barnes and Noble and somebody said, "Here's a ticket for any free Criterion set or Criterion Blu-ray or DVD, and we're going to go ahead and give you the Zatoichi set," because I knew that would already be on there. But what would be another? I'd give you the Zatoichi set if I had the extra.
Honestly, dude, I would just grab that. I don't think I'd be greedy. I'd just grab the Bruce Lee one and the friggin' Hedwig and the Angry Itch. I love that movie, so it'd be cool to have the Criterion of it just because it's fucking awesome.
So tell us just a little bit about yourself. I mean, I actually watched that recent Kaiju Quarantine that you had to stick on your archive, which is a shame because it was an excellent one.
My name's Mosley. I enjoy drinking beer and watching old movies, so I do plenty of videos over on my channel. Sometimes YouTube likes to fuck with me, and I ain't having that shit anymore. So some of them, get redirected to my Internet Archives account. But I'm going hard with the Kaiju Quarantine. Just did a review for Gamera versus Baragon and The Return of Godzilla, or Godzilla 1984 or 1985, whichever one you prefer. It's when they, revived him, and then that kicked off like the Heisei period of Godzilla. So that's basically what we're gonna do, is like classic Gamera and modern Godzilla. And then once I'm done with the Gamera movies, I'm gonna flip-flop it. Like I'm gonna do the Gamera trilogy with like the Millennium Era Godzilla films. I'm gonna do 2 for 2, so it'll all balance out.
I want to see them do the different era of Godzilla.
What's that?
I want to see the different eras of Godzilla, each one having their own like big set.
Yeah.
And have it to where you can war them off against each other, like in different. So you can just like set them up.
Nice.
And then they put in Godzilla 1998 in there.
He shows up in Final Wars.
There's no reason I think if they do that, I'd like to see all of them, international versions in one set. So you would see, that'd be fun.
In any case, though, YouTube is a cruel bitch. So some of those, you got to redirect to my archive account, like Brandon said. But other than that, I'm going to be reviewing a bunch of cannibal movies, and they'll be on their recording place, deciding on what the YouTube gods decide is permissible here. So
all right,
check it out. Also, join us in the Most Tavern Facebook group, and we can all, correspond.
Did you run into that problem because of like clips that you showed, or what?
Okay. No. The Jungle Holocaust thing was like some dickhole kept reporting the video. Some guy that I have like an ongoing weird feud with.
I see.
The Toho stuff is legit, though. They've always been sticklers about it. And what I would do on like the Lone Wolf and Cub reviews is I'd put some like text over it or whatever, so that it would be like, Toho's fucking with me again, or what, like make a joke, kind of make it like fun at least, even though it sucks. And then I kept uploading the uncut reviews to Internet Archive anyways,
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Toho this last week decided that the Lone Wolf and Cub review that I've had up for a month was somehow not okay anymore. So they took it down and said there was like 2.5 more minutes of copyright shit in there that I somehow used for a month, but now I'm not allowed to use. And that's after fixing the video multiple times, so that Toho was like, all right, it's cool. You're just using trailer footage in a couple scenes. So fuck them. I'm just going to do the uncut reviews. I'm going to make it like I did the last Gamera one. I held off on doing that with Godzilla 84 because I was like, maybe it'll pass the copyright the Gamera one did. But I took too much faith in Toho. Fuck them. I love the movies, hate the legal practices. That's absolutely stupid. So if you want to check out that stuff, it's all over the place. But it's good times. Brandon can attest.
I asked because I showed on camera like the Severin or whatever cover of like Emmanuel and the Last Cannibals, and it's got tits on it, and I showed Jungle Holocaust and all this stuff. And I mean, I don't know if you have like
all sorts of that shit on my channel, dude. I mean, there's orgies going on. Yeah. There's just tons of sexually explicit and violent shit.
And that's before you turn the camera on.
The automated catch a lot of that. What's going to catch that is people reporting it. That's where it really.
Yeah. And it was only this dude that doesn't like me basically just kept reporting the video. So
that's what. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry about that, but also like. I asked because I was like, well, I've been making sure to save the videos to like my Dropbox, and that way, because I have a hard time because I record them on my phone, but then it has a hard time like transferring from my phone to like either the computer or to Dropbox. So I do a like download a YouTube video thing, and because it's just straight uncut footage there, it's not like not a huge deal. Like that's another reason why it's like, well, with the editing, which I do want to do, but it's also like, well, I would need to make sure that I can more easily transfer video footage.
9 times out of 10, it's just going to say, oh, this footage belongs to someone. You can't monetize it, and if you're not interested in reviewing the shit and getting it out there, then it doesn't matter.
That's why I was just holding him up, because I didn't want to run into
reporting it for sexual stuff, and I was like, "What? I covered up all the tits," and then
and that's the thing. Like I kind of knew that using video footage of anything in reviews anymore, unless you have like a sponsorship or something, like there's no way you're gonna get that monetized anymore. And it's weird because there was you
can get away with it most times, man. I mean, I've been doing it for years now. It's just that dick.
Well, it's a weird thing though, because like I remembered in the old days of YouTube that you weren't allowed to do anything like you could do it all, and then all of a sudden you couldn't do any of it, and then after
It seems like that, but I just kept doing it. I mean, if he starts reporting all my videos, it's going down, guys. Like,
I'm saying, well, like what I was,
it's a wretched hive of fucking scum and villainy on there.
What I was saying was like with like so people like the Angry Video Game Nerd and Nostalgia Critic, when they left early YouTube and they went off to do their own sites and they were really successful, then YouTube had to like get wise to it and be like, oh, okay, well, if we put their videos back on there, then it'll drive traffic to YouTube. And then nowadays it's like the pendulum has swung the other way to where you pretty much have to have like sponsored content or whatever to be able to make any kind of money from anything that remotely uses any like pre-existing clips or whatever.
I'm trying to hike up that skirt for the Zatuichi set, bro. Like, I don't need any money out of this shit.
Yeah.
Sorry that took so long though, man.
Yeah, well, it's just one of those things where like I kind of I know that, but I also like I am trying to hone my skills at holding the audience's attention without having to edit, and so that's why that's what part of it. That's another reason why I'm not in like a humongous rush to do like a formal edited video, because I'm trying to just do better with just literally doing a show and tell, but holding the audience's attention nonetheless. So
yeah,
and I should have mine battling your one, except I said here's the thing. So like Godzilla could squash the zombies, but could he attack all of them within enough time to have it to where they wouldn't eat him?
Oh, can you imagine zombie Godzilla? Actually,
or Godzilla versus zombie. Hey, there's a movie for you. It wouldn't necessarily be. You wouldn't have to do Godzilla necessarily, but if you merged the zombie genre with the kaiju genre, wouldn't that be cool? Well, or actually, yeah, like so. It starts off with kaiju doing their normal thing. Then a zombie outbreak happens. The zombies bite the kaiju, and then they become zombified, and then it's like, well, now we're fucked beyond belief. And even if you had like a Mothra stand-in of like the good ones or whatever, they get zombified, and then it's like, well, okay, might as well just throw in the towel now. Head underground, because there's no chance we're gonna survive this.
Let's call it a day.
So, Jake, if you had Criterion's ear, and you could get one title or set through, what would you do?
Well,
Ninja Scroll.
At the risk of cannibalizing one of our own videos, my answer will stay the same until there is no freaking North American release or no U.S. release for the Lucas Moodysson film Lilia Forever. And until there is, that will be my top pick. But what I was saying earlier about a Brando set would be really cool. I'd really like to see a lot more Japanese cinema released here, and very few of them are. I'd like to see more. Well, like Criterion has two Japanese films that came out after 2000. That's weird, considering how freaking many they have from before 2000. They need to work on that a little bit. So that and they only have 2 freaking animated films. So I want to see them step up their game there.
That's why they need Ninja Scroll, baby.
Yeah.
So if you had if you were walking into Barnes and Noble and they had like all of their in print Criterions in stock, and you were given a ticket that allow you to take one item that you don't have.
If you had a ticket to ride and you didn't care.
Remind me again, is the Zatuichi in or out of print?
It's still
in. It's just being withheld.
If it is in print, for budgetary reasons, that would be my top pick, with Lone Wolf and Cub probably the second. Awesome. If I could do a slight variation on that, and they would allow me a buyback where I give them my regular edition and they give me the Criterion edition of any title I could think of, I'd love to do that. where I could go ahead and give them my editions of 12 Angry Men, Ghost World, Being John Malkovich, Being There, Blue Velvet, Mulholland Drive, Punch Drunk Love, all these, and get the Criterion edition in its place. I'd like to do that.
Tell us a little bit about
Cash for Clunkers program.
That's exactly what it is.
Traded, you get like $2-3 off the top or something like that.
Actually,
didn't Best Buy do upgrade and save?
They do one of those, yeah.
I was going to say, I totally forgot though. One thing I was going to seriously suggest, this might sound at first like a bit of a joke, but kind of, again, like Mo, I have my reasons here. And I think Mo and Dane would enjoy this, actually. I'd like to see a Criterion release of Cannibal the Musical.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Well, a Criterion release of any trauma movie would be awesome.
Again, they like the fetus, man. Everything's on the table now.
What's that, Dave?
First, they have to come out with the Toxic Avenger set.
Well, I'm thinking more along the lines of they have their obsession with putting out directors' first works. They really like to go early. And I'm not sure that was the first thing from Parker and Stone, but it was definitely one of the first.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was their first feature, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
this one wasn't.
Was Orgasmo technically
Orgasmo was their second.
Oh, was that after Cannibal the Musical, technically?
Yeah.
So, Jake, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, I'm Jake. I'm co-host here on SeptumSin versus World. And as you can tell from tonight, a pretty avid movie collector. And we also like to play a lot on Delusions of Grandeur and Inside Movies Galore. Hoping I'll be able to participate in the discussions this week, but definitely have been enjoying the superhero month overall. Looking forward to Kaiju month. It should be interesting. And especially if I get to crack open that nice Godzilla set, I think that'll be a lot of fun. All right.
So for me, if I could, I'd probably get a set like this. I've talked about some of the others, but I really want a Woody Allen set. I really want a Ghibli set, but those are still producing right now. Mm-hmm. Ghibli's almost done, I think, because I think they were ending with Miyazaki, but Miyazaki keeps coming out of retirement.
If you're
they have 2 features in production, I believe.
So, but
if you're okay with Region B's, Arrow actually has 3 Woody Allen sets, if I recall.
Oh, I've got all of his films so far on physical, including Rainy Day in New York. But I would love for, like, if he ever gets like point where he stops, it would be great to have a set like this. And this is the reason why I say it's possible to have a set with that many films in it. Yeah. Despite all of the other stuff, they have Polanski films on these releases.
Yeah.
Not like this, but I mean, a Woody Allen set would be an art house person's dream. But since they are not complete in their collection yet, because they're still working, and Woody Allen, despite whatever people believe, he's one of the hardest working people out there. I will say that. Yeah. And I would say a Shirley Temple collection, because that's something you rarely see.
Didn't Kino put one out, or are they putting one out?
I'm talking a complete collection. I've never seen a complete collection of all of her stuff, and that would just be a really cool thing. My grandmother, if she was still alive, she would be like ecstatic. But
now it'd be cool. Actually, I just thought of this because we got the Marx Brothers with who was putting out the Marx Brothers? Was that just Universal? I want to say Yeah, well, because they didn't put it out through like the Criterion Collection, but like we got plenty of Shirley Chaplin there. We got plenty of Harold Lloyd. We got plenty of Buster Keaton.
We're getting
we don't
there.
have
They're still
we
working.
don't have like the Three Stooges. Like I know that the best we got there is like the Sony putting out their theatrical shorts on DVD, but there's not been a big Blu-ray remaster of anything.
Oh, I'd love to see Marx Brothers and
complete Laurel and Hardy. That'd be good.
Yeah, Laurel and Hardy as well.
They could include Santa and Ollie as a bonus feature. That was a good movie.
You know, it could come out on the tinfoil collection as that Fist of the North Star movie they did.
There you go.
And Double Dragon. Holy shit.
Well, they put that out through MVD Visual.
So, as far as if I was given a ticket for any one, I am not sure. I mean, there are a lot of them that I wouldn't mind getting a hold of.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of the Hitchcock stuff, I still have that wonderful set that, like, you know, the kind of like velvety set that they have. That just is so nice. I can't really give that up. But I think some Hitchcock wouldn't be a bad thing. If I could find some stuff that I don't have, would be cool to get from them.
Or a complete Hitchcock, you know.
Yeah. So, you know, there's so much out there. I'm just kind of overwhelmed by it all.
I know.
As far as what I would want. Maybe go ahead and exchange up for my copy for the circus to have it all on one.
You know, to be insane is like what's his name, Klaus Kinski, like a collection of that dude's fucking insanity.
Well, Shout Factory put out that big Werner Herzog collection.
Oh yeah, Herzog that was a cool.
They need
collection.
a Marx Brothers collection.
I agree.
Yeah, Marx Brothers would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as
or a Wheeler and Woolsey.
Who?
Wheeler and Woolsey. They were even before Laurel and Hardy.
Well, we've seen quite a bit on this one, and I hope everybody's enjoyed. Of course, we're SeptumSin versus the world. You got a lot to look forward this week. We got pickups. We got new releases. I'm probably going to be editing that tomorrow because it's late. And then I have on Thursday, Anne Hadenia comes back because I do a review of wait, no, not that one. of Cool Summer and all the other animated films on their physical releases, which is pretty awesome coming up in the future. And of course, a music stroll for those of you who are really big into that, and a review I did for a friend of mine of a movie called The Shackled Demon Project, which I kind of tried to do back to back with Faces of the Dead.
Not the same as Faces of Death.
Definitely not. So I thank you all for your time with us this time. And of course, if you liked your content today and you did stick out with us the whole time, hit that like button, subscribe, and share. We always enjoy having people here. And if there were any comments on the side here, I would have gladly read them. And we do once we get through. So I hope you all have enjoyed, and we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.